In some big-time news, Seth frickin' Rollins has re-signed with WWE, becoming the latest talent to sign an extension to stay with the company amid what many believe to be one of the biggest free agent years in professional wrestling history. We're going to tell you everything we know about this so far, according to FightfulSelect.com, who's got all the scoops. We're also going to be talking about the impact that this re-signing is going to have on other free agents or potential free agents like Becky Lynch and the entire landscape of wrestling free agency as a whole as it pertains to AEW and where they stand. All that and much more coming up in this video. Also going to be talking about The Rock and original plans for WrestleMania that are going to completely shock you to your core, because that's how I felt when I heard it. All that much more coming up. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. All right. So Seth Rollins has re-signed with WWE. This according to FightfulSelect.com. Here's the quote. WWE sources have confirmed Fightful Select Sean Ross Sapp's WWE sources have confirmed to Fightful Select Sean Ross Sapp that Seth Rollins is remaining in WWE for years to come and has re-signed with the company. As has been the case with most of the re-signings, we're told that it will be a multi-year deal for big money. Here's the quote from someone in WWE. They're not going to let him go. This is a source close to WWE and Rollins, excuse me. WWE obviously has also recently re-signed other potential free agents like Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre, all of whom had their contracts expiring this year, but now they are all signed. Seth Rollins becomes the latest name to re-sign as one of the other big dominoes or big potential free agents that we're still waiting to see what happens with is Becky Lynch, of course, whom Seth Rollins is married to. So first, let's talk about this Rollins news, what it means. Obviously, this is no surprise. If you ask me, Seth Rollins is the epitome of Mr. WWE. He is arguably the company's most loyal wrestler. He is someone who has gone up to bat for the company, even in moments where the company has not asked him to. He truly bleeds WWE through and through and has done everything that has been asked of him and excelled in everything that has been asked of him for the most part. And even when he didn't, a lot of that was on WWE and the really bad creative that Vince McMahon was doing. Anyway, but all of that, it really means that there was no surprise here. It would have been a shock if Rollins had not re-signed with WWE. He had spoken about how, he's not leaving. There's no way Rollins was going to leave. That makes sense to me. As far as, Becky Lynch, that's the other big domino that's going to fall here. The fact that Rollins re-signed does, make it more likely, or even more likely than it was before, that Becky will also re-sign with WWE. I think with Becky, there's a bit of a more, or at least a sense that it's a bit of a more of a wild card than Rollins, because Rollins, we all kind of knew was not going to go anywhere. But with Becky, we know that when it comes down to it, she has accomplished nearly everything there is to do in WWE. And, the question remains, at least for the fans, what more can she do with her career? And I think venturing out and doing things on the indies or going to AEW, having some of those matches, that's something that she could add, or that's something she could use to add to her already illustrious achievements. Now, as far as how likely that is, I mean, at this point, I don't see a world where Becky Lynch doesn't re-sign. She was asked in the Ariel Helwani interview about her contract, and she seemed to at least give away a little bit of surprise and they haven't re-signed me yet. Interesting. And maybe that was probably a lot of that is her trying to get leverage and publicly stating that is a way to do that, so that's fine. But I as much as I think that Becky is going to stay, there is always going to be that sense of doubt, because it just feels like there is there's more for her to do outside of WWE. And not that there's not for a lot of these other people. Anyone who leaves WWE, there's always going to be more to do. But with Becky, there is this sense of, well, you have done everything. And also, on top of that, does she want to go out and make a name for herself outside of just the Becky Lynch name? I think all those things are could be factored in. All that being said, the fact that Rollins is staying, I think, makes it even more likely that Becky stays. But that's an interesting one. I think there's a 90% chance Becky stays, but don't discount the idea of her potentially not staying. As far as AEW goes, I mean, we know that AEW had said that they're going to be very aggressive in this free agent market. And if you look at some of the signings they've made, they totally have been. They've signed Will Ospreay to big money. They've signed Kazuchika Okada, and they've signed Mercedes Moné. 3 of the best and biggest free agent names that there were in all of pro wrestling. That is undeniable. Anyone who tells you that, I'm sorry, you don't know what you're talking about. Because you could argue right now that the best wrestler in the world today is Will Ospreay. You could argue that Kazuchika Okada is proving to everyone that in AEW, he is capable of doing the quote-unquote character work that people did not believe that he was capable of, even though if you watch New Japan, which I know a lot of people don't, you would have seen that that was not the case. And then Mercedes Moné, if we're being honest, she is in AEW because negotiations with WWE reportedly broke down, and they were not willing to offer her the money that she believed that she was worth. And when you're faced with a situation like that, and AEW is going to be there and say, okay, we'll pay you, and you'll come here and we'll do some great work together, it's a no-brainer that she signed there, and that is a big name. That was a big name, and that's why I think you're seeing WWE doing everything they can to kind of re-sign as many talent as possible. And the thing is, they have done a great job of retaining talent, which was not the case under the past few years of Vince McMahon. When you look at the talent that left WWE either due to creative concerns or other factors over the last few years, ever since AEW's inception, it's you could draw a very clear line between the creative and the limitations that were existent in WWE at the time to them leaving. I mean, Bryan Danielson's talked about it. Adam Cole has discussed it. And obviously Cole is also best friends with the Young Bucks. So there was also that connection there. And many people at the time, especially in 2020, they believed that Triple H was on his way out, that he was gone. And he was. He was basically booted out of the company at that point and taken out of power. Vince McMahon had taken over NXT. And it just seemed like nothing was going to change. And the AEW was the the better company to be in, not only to get paid, but to actually do what these people love to do, which is wrestle. So that perception has obviously shifted drastically under Triple H. It's a new era. It's a new person in charge, a new way of doing things, and a new way of presenting WWE talent. You combine that with the fact that TKO has basically brought WWE to a place where they're bigger than ever, and I think you're going to see them retain more talent. The question is, at what point and how really AEW can combat that, because they can only do it to an extent. The money's going to drive people to an extent, but not if WWE is willing to offer them the big money that that they are. And it just seems like WWE is hell-bent on keeping these big names, because they know if they start to go over to AEW, then it's going to be a bad look, not only for the company, WWE, but also having some of your biggest stars on the other network. So interesting things to keep in mind as we head into the next few months of 2024. Guys, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. As we go to our final topic of the day, let's talk about the original plans for WrestleMania 40. So, according to Dave Meltzer and the Wrestling Observer newsletter, apparently the original plans for WrestleMania 40 included Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson defeating Roman Reigns for the WWE Universal Heavyweight Championship and then vacating it shortly thereafter, at which point he would go on and dub himself the People's Champion as he returned to Hollywood. And it's that same People's Championship that he's kind of carrying around right now, or the one that was in that weird Cody segment between himself and Rhodes that was like, I'll let you hold yours if you hold mine, or whatever he was saying. Yeah, so Dave Meltzer basically said that those were the original plans for The Rock, and that there was major opposition to those plans inside of WWE. Some felt that The Rock winning the belt and then vacating it would make Cody and Roman look ridiculous, which hard to disagree with that. You built Roman Reigns up at that point to be this world beater, this final boss. And sorry, Rocky. You had built Roman up to be all these things, and you just have The Rock not only beat him, all right? Like, there's a story to be told if Rock is the one to beat him, okay? But vacate it the next night and then do what you were going to do anyway? That is weird. And that seems to be, if we're being honest, it seems to be a little bit too self-serving of The Rock, if this is true. Obviously, take reports with a grain of salt when it comes to things like this. But, I mean, if this is true, like, it makes you think about the other stories. If you go and watch one of the previous videos on the channel where we kind of discussed and looked at this article from The Wrap that chronicles The Rock's recent mishaps in Hollywood and the things that have happened to him in there, and the way that he's perceived, it makes you think and look at those differently after you read, these reports from Meltzer as well. So I don't know. Like, is The Rock doing too much? Probably, but he's also The Rock, and he wields a lot of influence in WWE. That is just the truth. He proved when he came back. He is their biggest star. As far as drawing eyeballs and interest to the product, he is their biggest star. There is no doubt about it. And I think going forward, you are going to see him put into that position. I would not even be surprised if in a match between himself and Roman Reigns, The Rock wins that match. I don't think he should win. I think Roman should be the guy to win. But I totally could see a world where The Rock is the winner. And I think we're, I don't know, man. Again, take all this with a grain of salt. We're just reacting to this as it comes in, but it could be interesting to see what happens here. I obviously want to hear from you all. What do you guys think about this news? Was The Rock trying to put himself over and kind of screw everyone else over? Was this a misunderstanding? Was this a little bit of both? Let me know in the comments section below. Also, let me know what you guys think about the World of Wrestling free agency as Seth Rollins re-signed with WWE. All that, much more. I want to hear from you. Guys, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. And until next time, keep it real.